You can win, live your dreams, reach your goals, be happy, you can make it. Get motivated with Cassandra Mack. We got wellness and church by phone. You don't even have to leave your home. Be inspired to rise a little higher with Cassandra Mack. Rise a little higher with Cassandra Mack.
Hello and thanks for stopping by. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of knowing your colors. You got to know your colors because red flags are not green flags. Do you know your colors? I'm Cassandra Mack, founder of strategiesfoремpoweredliving.com and CassandраMackMinistries.com. For more information about the ministry, my company, books, inspirational merch, or one-to-one strategy sessions, you'll see the link to the link tree in my video description box. Let's dive right in. You've got to know your colors. So have you ever been in a situation where everything looked good on the outside, but on the inside something felt off? Maybe you felt uncomfortable, you felt a little nervous, apprehensive, or just you were on guard, even though everything on the outside presented itself well. And so these are red flags, right? So red flags are indicators. Think about like when you see a traffic light. And when you see a traffic light, the light is flashing, right? Either red, yellow, or green. And red means stop. Yellow means the light's about to change, and green means go. But sometimes we treat red flags like they are green flags because we are not paying attention to our colors. You got to know your colors. So red flags are behaviors. This is what I'm getting at to really define what a red flag is. Red flags are behaviors that give you serious pause because it indicates that there may be a larger pattern or a larger problem. And so you are to stop. You are to pause. You are to pay attention to what it is that you are feeling and why you feel that way. So what happens sometimes, the heart wants what the heart wants, whether this is a romantic interest, a friendship, or a business relationship. When the heart wants what the heart wants, it is easy to be dismissive, to downplay, and to downgrade those red flags. But a red flag is going to let you know that there are some things that you need to pay attention to. And it may be that they are repeated patterns. It may be that it is a problem or a gut feeling about a certain behavior that you notice, and you are asking yourself questions for deeper reflection on the inside. Sometimes it's a behavior that just doesn't sit well with you. It makes you feel unsafe, uncared for, or bad about yourself, or it makes you feel like you can't trust this person. You almost feel like you were being sold or scammed if it is a business situation, or you just feel like even though everything on the surface looks great, you can't get it out of your mind, all of the what ifs. And you are typically not a person who is paranoid. You are typically a person who will judge a situation and assess a situation with the information that you have, and you are not paranoid, but there is something about this one specific situation that gives you reason to pause. And so you are in red flag territory, and it is important to honor this. And so you want to check in with yourself when you are getting red flags. You got to know your colors. And so often the reason we find ourselves in friendships or even relationships that are draining the life out of us is because we don't pay attention to red flags. And this is the thing about red flags, right? So we're going to use a traffic light as an analogy. So when a light is about to change, you get a yellow flag. And it is important to begin to pay attention to the yellow lights. So a yellow light, right, is an indication that a red light is about to appear. So the red light hasn't appeared yet, but it is an indication that something is about to change. So let's use, you meet somebody and they love bomb you. This could be a romantic interest. This could be a friend who is so attentive to you. And they just seem to check all the boxes of what you are looking for. And you don't see a red flag yet, but you begin to see subtle changes in the behavior. And so it may not be something overt in terms of putting you down in an overt and obvious way, but it could be you caught them in a lie. It could be that they said something and something doesn't add up and they changed their story. And it could be easy to dismiss this and say, well, you know what? Maybe they weren't lying. Maybe I heard them wrong. Maybe I misunderstood. So it's at the yellow stage, the yellow light stage. Something is about to change in that dynamic. And usually what is happening is you're beginning to see the person for who they really are. So we know people by their fruit, right? This is what it says in the Bible. Matthew 7, verse 16 says, you will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Let's go on to 17. Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. So how do you know whether you have a good tree or a bad tree? Simply by the fruit it bears. It doesn't get any plainer than this. So you will know them by their fruits. We know people by what they produce. So fruit is what we produce. The effects, the outcomes, our actions, our choices, our patterns, our habits. And so you're going to know a person not by what they profess. A person can claim to love you, care about you, have your best interest in mind, want to do right by you. But that is not how you know them. You don't know them by empty words. The Bible even says, do not be deceived by empty words. So you don't know people by the words they say. You don't know people by the promises they make. You don't know people by how many times they promise you that they're going to change and not going to do the thing that hurts you again. That's not how you know an individual. You don't even know them by their connection to other people. You know them by their fruit. You don't even know them by their title. Someone can have the title of family and treat you worse than a hostile enemy, savage enemy in the street. So we don't even know people by our titles, by their titles. The Bible's very clear. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Look at the analogy. So it's asking the question, do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? The answer to that question is no. You cannot get a grape from a thorn bush. The only thing you can get from a thorn bush is a thorn. A thorn will prick you. And so the reason why oftentimes the relationships that we find ourselves in, whether they're romantic, friendship, or for business, the reason why some of these relationships prick at our joy, prick at our peace of mind, prick at our financial well-being, our mental well-being, is because we're looking to be fed, right? Do men gather grapes? A grape will feed you. You can eat grapes, make grape jelly, drink grape juice. But a thorn will prick you. So we are looking to be fed a grape from a thorn bush. That is impossible. It cannot happen. So the question is a self-reflective question. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Thistles are that little prickly flower that's like cotton. And you cannot eat a thistle. You will choke off of that, but you can eat a fig. And so when we're looking to be fed from relationships that are clearly showing us that they are trying to prick us or choke us in some kind of way, whether someone is trying to choke out all your money, choke out all of your trust, choke out all of your, just your emotional energy, and you keep going back there thinking you're being fed, that's not even logical. We're not using our common sense. We're not using our godly wisdom. Then the scripture goes on to say in verse 17, even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit, right? So you know a tree by its fruit, and they're using the analogy, the scripture's using the analogy, you know a person by the fruit that they bear in that relationship with you. That is how you know. And so if a person keeps bearing pain in your life, lies in your life, deception, gaslighting, that's what it is. That's what it is. No matter how much we desire it to be something else. Now here's the thing about fruit. So if we think about a red flag, right? or a green flag as the fruit of the tree, if we use that analogy, then we know that good fruit is a green flag. That means you can go. And red fruit is, and bad fruit is a red flag. That means stop, pause. But the thing to keep in mind about fruit is that all fruit, no matter what type of fruit it is, all fruit starts out as a seed. And so if we think of yellow lights as the seed, then as you begin to see seeds of somebody pricking at your self-esteem, even if it's not full fruit yet, but you see the seeds of it, you want to try to pay attention at the yellow light level. You got to know your colors. What colors are you seeing in a relationship that is giving you reason to pause, whether it is romance, business, or platonic friendship? What colors are you beginning to see in a relationship that is draining the life out of you? What colors are you beginning to see in a friendship group where you feel more like the peripheral friend chasing down the other friends, and the only time they call you is when they need money, favors, or they need something from you? Otherwise, you don't hear from them. You see the things that they do together, on social media, and they're like, you should have been there. And you have been friends for years and you are never invited. What kind of fruit is being produced towards you in that friendship group? What colors are you seeing? And so you got to know your colors. But what happens is sometimes, because the heart wants what the heart wants, we will clearly see a red flag and we will call it a green one. We will clearly see red lights and we will call it a green light. And so it could be something as simple as you verbalized the boundary and the person crossed your boundary. And when you call them on it, they tried to gaslight you and they made excuses. And rather than owning their behavior, they tried to flip it on you. And let's say you fell for it. You were like, well, maybe, maybe I was a little too stern and I should have let you come upstairs. Or maybe, I asked you too many questions to get to know you and I was being too nosy. And these were normal, typical questions that you would ask anyone that you were trying to get to know. If somebody wants to have space in your life and they want to have your time, your energy, you need to know. You could be dealing with a demon. You need to know what type of person you were dealing with. You have the right to ask questions. And so when you are given pushback, right, and you are made to feel as though you are doing something wrong for asking a question, that's a red flag. But sometimes what will happen is a person who has the gift of gab and they're really good at deceiving other people, they will have you believing you are wrong for questioning them about something that doesn't add up. So they're talking, you're talking with one another, and they're like, yeah, I went to Virginia State University. And then a month later, they're like, yeah, I went to Penn State University, but you remember last month they said Virginia State University. And you're like, this doesn't add up. Which one is it? Did you go to Virginia State or did you go to Penn State? And then you will find yourself lying to yourself. Well, maybe what they meant was they did their freshman year at Virginia State, and then they did their sophomore year at Penn State, but they didn't tell you that. They told you two different stories, so you need to ask to find out why. And so let's say that you asked the question, and they're like, well, boy, you got trust issues. And all you said was something along the lines of, I'm a little confused. When we were talking last month, you said you went to Virginia State, and then 2 days ago, you said you went to Pennsylvania State, and just a little weird to me. However you would language it. You don't have to use the word weird. However you speak. And if the person gets like super defensive because they told you two different stories and you know what you heard, and you were not imagining things, nor are you hearing things, nor did you hear them incorrectly. You know what you heard. But because you caught them off guard and you are questioning them about something that does not add up, they now have an attitude with you, and they have you apologizing. This happens when you're dealing with someone manipulative. They will have you apologizing for catching them in a lie. How you apologizing? And you caught they trifling behind in a lie. So you want to make sure that you are tuning in to your intuition, your instincts, your discernment from the Holy Spirit. God gives us mechanisms, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, to be able to navigate this life, the different situations we're in, the different people we meet, with wisdom. And so when you find that something does not add up, something gives you a reason to pause, know your colors. Do not call red lights green lights. Green means go. Red means stop. And the yellow light means that the light's about to change. And sometimes that's really how it is. Things are going okay, and then something starts to change in that relationship. This could be a romantic relationship. The person was very complimentary the first 2 months, first 3 months. Now you're in month 3 and nothing you do is right. You're stupid. They're still with you now, but all they do is criticize you. If you are that stupid, and if there are so much things wrong with you in the first 3 months of the relationship, it would make sense for them to tell you you were not a match, so they could find the person who was a better match for them, but they'd rather stay with you and put you down. I want you to think about that. Does that make sense logically for someone to feel that you don't measure up, but they want to constantly put you down? So if you truly don't measure up, wouldn't it make sense for them to find the person who measures what it is that they are looking for, rather than wasting time with you if you are not it? And what happens when you call a person out who tries to belittle you and play this mind game with you, and you were like, well, it seems to me, based on what you keep saying about me, that, I don't fit what you're looking for. I don't want to waste your time. So maybe it is best that we go our separate ways. Now they want to get an attitude with you because they never wanted you to leave. They just wanted to put your self-esteem in the ground. But you have to be able to identify your colors from the first time it happens, even after they say they're sorry. The first time somebody puts you down, you have to key into that. Even if they say they're sorry, it doesn't mean that you can't forgive. As believers, we are to forgive. But forgiveness does not mean that I have to be in relationship with you. I can forgive you for belittling me, but choosing not to be in relationship with you. I forgive you. We all make mistakes, but this is not the dynamic that adds joy and peace to my life. So I choose to bless and release you. Anywhere you want to go, because you need to get up out my face. So when you are clear about that, right? And you are clear about what your boundaries are, then it helps you to know your colors. Because sometimes the reason we don't know our colors is because we are colorblind in the spirit. And what I mean by that is, when you have been taught that you cannot trust yourself, and sometimes that comes from having our voice taken from us when we are young, when we're children. So a lot of times, if you were not believed about something traumatic that happened to you, or you were told it didn't happen, you were told you were imagining it, you were told you were making a mountain out of a molehill, and you were really hurt or harmed, and that happens to you over and over again during your formative years, what begins to happen is it weakens your self-trust to the point where you don't trust your own intuition, where you don't trust your own inner wisdom. So when you become an adult and that script is still in your head, well, I overreact to every little thing because, that's what my mom said when I said that this family member touched me inappropriately, that I was imagining it, and I know I didn't imagine it. And so when you are made to believe that, what happens, right? We go into adulthood not trusting ourselves, and it doesn't have to be that example that I use. It could be something else that steals your voice, that steals your ability to advocate for yourself. So what happens is we will be colorblind, and we will dismiss and downgrade our own intuitive wisdom, so that when we see red flags and we call a person out on red flag behavior, it will be easy to gaslight us because we don't have self-trust. But the way that you build your self-trust is by trusting in the Lord. When you trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not to your own understanding, that is key. And you acknowledge him in all your ways, he will direct your path. And many people twist this scripture up to mean accept abuse, mistreatment, to deny trauma. It doesn't mean that. People are gaslighting you. I don't care if it's your pastor telling you this. When you trust in the Lord with all of your heart, you trust the God in you. God gave you a sound mind. You trust the God in you. So if the God in you is telling you this person doesn't have my best interest in mind, if the God in you is telling you this person keeps belittling me, if the God in you is telling you that this person is trying to manipulate me, if the God in you is telling you this person is trying to make me believe I am crazy for calling them out on inconsistent behavior and the lies that I'm catching them in, if the God in you is telling you, I don't feel safe around this person emotionally, I don't know why, but I know that I don't feel safe. If the God in you is telling you, I don't even want my children around this person. If the God in you is telling you, I don't want to do business and commingle funds with this person, even though they are telling me they have a great business idea. The more that they talk about the idea, I really don't see their plan. I can't see how they are going to take it from the idea stage to the implementation stage, yet they're asking for my money to fund their plan. And so when the God in you gives you reason to pause, don't lean to your own understanding. And that's the problem, because we will say things like, I don't understand how they could say they love me and put me down. They're putting you down. You don't need to understand the why. You just need to see that they're putting you down. That's trusting in the Lord. Once we get into, I don't understand how this could be my own cousin, my own sister, my own brother, and they are in constant competition with me to the point where it is really ugly. What's there not to understand? What are you not understanding? You know them by their fruit. You know them by their fruit. So if you are seeing the fruit and the God in you is showing you the fruit, don't start leaning to your own understanding, because the own understanding makes excuses. Our own understanding makes excuses. Our own understanding is looking for justification. Well, I don't know how they could say they love me and they keep doing X, Y, and Z. The thing you focus on is not that they say they love you. That's not the focal point. It is the X, Y, and Z that they're doing. It is the fruit that is being produced in that relationship. Do not be deceived by empty words. Empty words are words that are spoken that are not backed up by consistent action. So when you trust in the Lord, this is how you develop self-trust. When you trust in the Lord, that God wants what's best for you, right? When you trust in the God in you, right? Because God is omnipresent, ever present, and in the life of the believer, indwelling present. That means he's in you. So when you trust the God in you, that's how you develop self-trust. Would God want you to tolerate abuse? Would God want you to go into business with somebody who is doing something illegal and is going to risk your freedom or your life? So don't lean to your own understanding. Well, I don't understand how we could be best friends from the time we were 5 and they could steal money from me. Or they could set me up to have money stolen from me where they place me in harm's way. What's there not to understand? You know them by their fruit. When we lean to our own understanding, we start making excuses and we start rationalizing behavior that needs to be addressed sooner than later. So, know your colors. And know that a red light means stop. Green light, you can go when you get the green light from God. But them yellow lights, those are the little foxes. And it's the little foxes that spoil the vine. Yellow light means something's about to change, right? Because a yellow light comes to let you know that the light is going to change. You pause when you see a yellow light. You don't stand in the middle of the street and take your time when you see a yellow light and you're crossing the street. You got to move fast. And so when you see things at the yellow light level, take that to God. Quickly, move fast, swiftly go to God. God, I noticed that they said they went to Virginia State University 3 months ago, and then just the other day they said they went to Penn State University. They talked about how their parents died 6 months ago, and then just the other day they talked about hearing from their mom. Did they forget they told me their parents died? See, you got to start paying attention to these things. When the math ain't mathing, when the math don't add up, subtract yourself from the equation. So I hope you found this helpful, and teach your kids to know their colors. Teach your kids, if you are a parent, we in back to school season. Some of y'all are back to school already. In New York, the kids go back to school in September. If you are a parent, start teaching your kids to know their colors. Know their colors. Teach your kids. When you are hanging around friends, and those friends are trying to persuade and pressure you to cut class and get high, you got to know your colors for that friendship group. That's a red flag. Why you want me to throw away my future? Teach your kids their colors. When you have a child and you have a child who's hanging around friends and they're bullying somebody else, that's a red light. They got to know their colors. If you have a child and they have friends that treat them like they are an ATM with their allowance and only want to hang out with that friend when none of the other friends are available, teach your child you got to know your colors. This is a red flag, friend. When you have a child and your child falls out with a friend for whatever reason, and that friend tells every single secret, put them on blast, go make a whole video about it on Snapchat and Instagram. You got to know your colors. You got to teach your friends to know your colors. When you see that you have a child, this could be your teenager, college age, and they have a friend who talk about all their other friends, and they gossip behind all their other friends' back, and your child thinks that that's their best friend who doesn't gossip about them, they better know their colors. You better know your colors. You trying to call it green. You calling it green, but it's red. You got to know your colors. So I hope if we got nothing else from this video, know your colors. In the comment section, type know your colors, because you are not going to pretend that a red flag is a green flag. You're not going to pretend that a red light is a green light. You're going to remind yourself that red means stop, green means go, and yellow means something's about to change. So I better keep my head on a swivel and pay attention. With that being said, if you are not yet a member of the YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? There are some awesome benefits. If you are a member at the 2nd tier or higher, with your membership, you can be part of the Wednesday Wellness Club. That is we meet live, I should say. We meet live by telephone conference call the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month, and we focus on mental health, emotional healing, self-care, wellness. We also have a book club. Our next book club meeting is going to be in October. I will have the flyer up sometime this week, and we have an amazing time in the book club. So you get to be part of the book club if you are a member of the channel at the 2nd tier or higher. You get the Church by Phone replays. Church by Phone Live is always free. You can just come. But if you want the replays, those are available by being a member at the 2nd tier or higher. And then I just introduced a new feature at the 3rd tier. For those of you who are 3rd tier members, we now have a journaling club, and that will kick off in September, and it is a success and self-care journaling, and that'll be happening weekly beginning September. So If you're interested in finding out more, click on the button that says join. You should see a join button. If you don't see a join button, just go to the link in the video description box and you will see that there are 3 levels of membership, and you can select the level of membership that is right for you. If you are not yet ready or able to be a member, please continue to enjoy the free public videos that are available to the general public. With that being said, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other, and know your colors. Talk to you soon.